Sombra's new rework has definitely messed with a lot of the power balance in the game, with a different style but still as deadly as she's been before. With her new virus ability and dynamic playstyle, she can pop out of nowhere and laser you down, and do it a lot more often than she could before. Even though she's more punishable, you have to do a lot to focus her down, and you have to have the right heroes to do so. Here's the top heroes to counter Sombra and Sombra dive compositions. Make sure to use the link in the description for a Game Leap membership if you want to master your favorite heroes, especially the ones with a good matchup into Sombra. With the new patch making dive more viable, there are loads of guides covering dive heroes and even map overviews to give you the game sense you need to farm your games. Check it out and enjoy the video. Starting with Tracer. She's usually played alongside Sombra, but with the rework, she's also great for chasing her down and punishing aggressive play a lot better than anyone else. Both heroes have a similar playstyle, and now with Sombra being more active, they'll be having more duels more often. Tracer wins out every time she's not caught off guard with a hack, and playing an effective and safe Tracer playstyle should ensure that basically ever happens. With a tracking weapon with high spread and instant teleportation ability, if you're aware of the Sombra, it makes it so much more difficult for her to hack you, even if you just have to react to it when it happens. Tracer's advantage in the Sombra is mostly that she's rarely a target, and is one of the best heroes to catch her after her Translocator. It's super easy for Tracer to decloak Sombra after a teleport, and it's almost a guaranteed kill unless the Sombra is falling directly backwards into her team. And even so, Tracer has the unique ability of going deep for the one clip, which is a lot more likely with Sombra having taken damage before teleporting out, and then recalling out after the kill. Sombra can play in the front line, but won't be able to get hacks off as often, especially thanks to Tracer, so when the Sombra inevitably has to go on the flank, Tracer can easily punish. The only thing to keep in mind to avoid becoming the hunted yourself is that when you start your flank on side routes, stay aware of the enemy Sombra behind you, so you can easily cancel the hack and chase her down. It's really dangerous for Sombra to go for Tracer now, especially alone, because you can't teleport so far away, so use that to your advantage. Next up is Ana, who's usually pretty weak to Sombra, being a support after all. But Ana has all the things she needs to deal with Sombra in both her base abilities and her hitbox. Sombra's new virus ability is strong, but with good movement can be dodged. And for Ana, her hitbox is small enough that she can bait it to not get hit if she's ready for it. Playing a good Ana has a lot to do with positioning, and using cover and staying aware of the flank routes behind you makes it a lot easier to avoid getting blown up without warning. This works especially well against the new Sombra, who's a lot more vulnerable to getting caught early in her engage, or when she has to set up for a long time to get around a strong defensive positioning. As for Ana's abilities, her sleep dart is simply better against Sombra because of her Translocator changes. Not only is Sombra still susceptible to getting slept, since she is a hero that has to engage backline at least half the time to really be able to get consistent picks, but her Translocator now only activates after 0.25 seconds instead of instantly teleporting her out. Even messing up the one-shot gives you just a bit more time to kill the Sombra, so look forward to not getting trolled by her teammates as much. And if you still can't get her before she escapes, you might just have to go next. As for Ana's other abilities, her Biotic Nade is the perfect defense against the virus if it does hit you, being able to deal with a bit more than half of the total damage, as well as amplifying healing from your friendly support, who with any luck is going to have their brain screwed on when the Sombra engages you. Ana is one of the hardest supports to kill because of that Biotic Nade, so be careful about using the more effective anti-healing effect aggressively when you know there's a Sombra prowling around for the pick. Even though a big anti-nade will help your team win the fight, you're no use to them dead. And the perfect hero to help take massive advantage of the Biotic healing effect is Brigitte. Inspire healing in the repair pack boosted by 50% will make sure that neither you nor Ana are knocking on death's door anytime soon, which is especially rough for Sombra to deal with. And Brig isn't only good for helping Ana out either, but against Sombra she can keep any friendly support alive no problem at all. Baptiste, who is particularly vulnerable to Sombra compared to his other matchups, gets a big buff from having a Brig around. And on top of getting a new whipshot damage buff, Brig has already been a great anti-dive option against heroes like Sombra and Tracer for a long time, even through some reworked abilities and nerfs. With her new whipshot, she has a way easier time one-shotting Sombra, along with any other 200 HP character. Against Sombra's new Translocator, you can especially flex your skill shots by going for a finishing shot on her after she teleports away. Brig's one-shot combo is super easy as well, only needing to hit 2 flail swings, her bash, and then finishing with her whipshot for a perfect total of 200 damage. And against unaware Sombras, this can lead into some pretty easy kills. Her one-shot potential is only recent, and the bigger reason she's so good against Sombra is her peeling and her shield. With her shield, she's almost always able to block a hack just by turning her view. Not only does she block the hack effect with her shield, but the virus will also be blocked by as well. And though it will still do 100 damage to the shield, you can drop it to stop it from taking more damage, just like you can with other damage over time abilities like Dynamite. Her shield is also great for defending your allies, putting them behind you and healing them up with your easy quick fix repair pack, which is the bane of any dive hero trying to focus on a target. An instant 55 healing per second applied for free is really difficult to deal with, and with Brig's Inspire, it's bumped up to a solid 70 healing per second. Her Inspire is also a great way to handle Sombra's EMP from the moment it activates, healing up the 30% health damage it does from the very start, which is only 60 damage to 200 HP targets. Her matchup is great with Sombra, and without blathering on and on about her, even with the damage buff, her Ripshot is still great for just displacing the Sombra away from her positioning, since she still suffers from being too far away from her targets. For the second DPS with a good matchup, there's an easy answer in Torbjorn, who despite getting nerfed is still an optimal anti-dive hero. His hitbox is not very forgiving, but he's luckily able to rely on armor to make him more durable, his overload to keep him alive in a duel, and the ever-reliable turret on the off angle to make it a lot more difficult for Sombra to find a hack. The turret is also doubly effective against Sombra's new Translocator, since even though it seems like Sombra enters her invisibility instantly upon teleporting, she's still visible for a slight moment after she arrives, meaning a turret that's locked onto her will keep shooting at her, preventing her from entering stealth. This is definitely super strong, so just placing your turret in your backline's line of sight will make her basically unable to fight them at all, on top of already stopping her from hacking with the poke damage it deals. Torb may not be able to take as much damage as before, and armor isn't as effective against smaller increments of damage like it used to be, but he's still got enough fire rate and the increased boost from his overload to make any Sombra scared of dueling him. It really must be stressed how important it is to be near your turret though, since with it, you're invincible, but without it, you'll definitely be taking a lot of damage from Sombra's new machine pistol and 100 damage virus. Having two bodies on the field that the Sombra has to deal with is still totally underrated, and even if he's better off playing a flank angle supported by his turret, he can still stick with his team to make sure he doesn't die at all. For a tank with a good matchup into Sombra, Jungle Queen is the first, and not just for her offensive capabilities, although her shotgun does help a lot with decloaking Sombra and chasing her down. Her knife is good into any target, so it's not especially strong into Sombra, and her slash is definitely harder to hit when Sombra's playing mid-range away from you. But the real reason is the commanding shout, which is a perfect peeling tool whenever the Sombra engages. Sombra can't hit and run as effectively as before, with the running part being a lot weaker, so it's totally worth it to use Shout to peel anyone hacked by Sombra and then look to chase her down. The passive speed and 50 overhealth is great to help your ally survive and then punish the Sombra, and for an EMP it's even better. Because Sombra's virus can only be applied to one person, it's also really easy to help whoever's focused down by it by body blocking and playing in between them and the Sombra. It's probably the only situation where you'll be able to get a Carnage Slash off against her, and while it's rare, slashing the Sombra is definitely going to force her away, since it's got a total of 130 damage that has to be respected. The second anti-dive DPS of the mix goes to Cassidy, who's definitely still the sleeper pick to deal with divers. Damage resistance buff on his roll isn't the big change that is going to make him more viable, but his 225 HP and hindering effect is what really makes him so annoying to deal with as a diver. Forgetting about Sombra for a second, one of her greatest helps in earlier mentioned Tracer gets totally demolished by a good Cassidy player, since not only does Magnetic Grenade allow you to one-tap her with a body shot, but the 75% damage reduction on the roll makes the Pulse Bomb obsolete. And if you're a Sombra trying to chase a Cassidy rolling away from you, expect to have your damage basically nullified for the half second that he's tumbling away. He's a solid, durable hero with great damage rewarded by accuracy, and once again, if Sombra is somehow prevented from leaving whenever she wants to, be it by a Sleep Dart or in this case, the Magnetic Grenade, it's a lot harder to slip away unnoticed with the delay to the new Translocator before you teleport. And even though the High Noon can be countered by Sombra, it literally has always been a really rough ultimate to use anyway, so no tears are being shed over that at all. Cass has always been good against flankers with his old stun, and his hindering grenade might be even more cringe in that it's harder to bait out, since it will lock onto your targets much more often. Just make sure to not get it forced easily, since with your roll being able to soak so much damage, you don't always need to throw out the grenade first to try to punish players focusing you. And finally, Orisa rounds out the best heroes against Sombra, with an ironclad wall of defense and a surprising amount of burst damage to catch Sombra off guard. Orisa may not be the best at cancelling hack, but her Fortify makes it much harder to focus her, and in an EMP, she's basically still unkillable. She's one of the few tanks that truly cannot be one-shot with EMP, although that number has risen since the recent EMP nerf. Her spear is the real dangerous thing, since Orisa is fully capable of handling both frontline and backline, switching between the two with ease. A Sombra spear into a wall is definitely going to take a lot of damage, and even though Orisa's damage isn't always too accurate at long range, it's enough to poke her out of invisibility if you know where she's teleporting from. Orisa is definitely a solid pick, but still more of an honorable mention, since her ultimate is hard countered by Sombra's basic hack ability, making it pretty rough to get off. But once you get past the attachment to getting crazy multi-kills on backline and let the highlight reels go, you'll be an unshakable symbol of justice in the frontline, and can even cancel a few EMPs while you're at it. That's it for the best heroes to counter Sombra, who while strong is definitely beatable with some classic anti-dive tactics and even some aggressive faster picks to outpace her. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.